So when we get to the moon, it's your lifestyle, it's your habits. Okay, oh, I better pull out this too. Where are we here? Okay. So Uranus to your moon, when it conjuncts the moon, which can be any time in the first, it's only going to conjunct your moon once in your life, so it could be any time in 84 years. It's going to be very different if it conjuncts your moon when you're 2 years old, or when you're 13 or 14, or when you're 21 or 30 or 45 or 60. Wow. So when it happens early, it's shocks that happen to you. When it happens late, it's reactions to what you've set up. When it's in the middle of your life, or sort of the last half of your life, you often have choices of how to use it, and you're ready to interact with it. So when you're young, it's happening to you. When you're old, it seems like it's happening to you again. But in the middle, you have choices how you work with this, how you play with it. But Uranus to the moon, it's your lifestyle and your home. It's how you're living, what's secure. So there's shocks, there's big changes. So our big change, we moved 3 or 4 times, but my dad, we were pretty poor, and Dad went bankrupt, but finally we moved to St. Lambert, and that was when I started the gym team. This was Uranus, was before it was talking when Uranus was square 7, no, 21, no. Yeah, I went back and forth. It must have been with my son. It was squaring my son when I moved and was on the gym team. But Uranus at the same time was conjuncting my moon. And when I conjuncted the moon, that was the sudden move to St. Lambert. Well, not only was it a move, it was to an old house. It wasn't a great house, but it was a great house for us. It was right on the riverfront. It didn't have a foundation, a concrete foundation, so the floors had warps and they would drift it. There'd be a 7 or 8 inch drop from one end of the room to another, and to a parent that looked like an old place, but for kids, you could run your cars or your toys. They'd run down the road, down the floor. It was great. I loved it, and we were right on the riverfront, so it was really a whole new freedom coming into my lifestyle then. And the gym team was another part, but so we had the gym team, and being on the grade 11 gym team. But really, I was fishing in the river. I was playing the river. I had a lot of freedom, even though the family wasn't that stable. The new place really was the first time I had a certain amount of freedom where I could do my own things. So the gym was the personal habit changing and the lifestyle changing, being able to get out and do something, not just being around the house. Okay, so that was the conjunction to the moon. My square was, I got a house. My wife was pregnant. I rented a house for the first time. My son was born, and was there for 3 months, and then my wife took off. I didn't find it, and that was it. It was done. So I didn't find him for another 4 or 5 years. I met a new girlfriend, and it broke up. So this was still a very catalytic and really shocking time. That was very upsetting when my son was born. I got a kid, I got a family. I could see my son, there it is, and then it's taken away, and I was just devastated. For emotionally, it was really. It was like a nervous breakdown because I was just crying. I was really upset. I couldn't believe it happened, and I stayed in the same place, but everything else was just hit my feelings, my moods, my changes, my family, my home, my marriage, everything went. And yeah, so once I got past it, I realized that let me get out of old attitudes, and then I started working more just on astrology. But that was a big shock. So the first one, the big move. Second one, sunborn, big move. Sunborn, big disruptions. The third one, I had a trip up to Kapus Casing in '93. This was more the opposition to the moon. It wasn't so much about my family. I was working on being part of a big group. I was writing news by degrees, a magazine. I started a couple of organizational things, like astrology organizations, AFAN, NCGR Group, and doing their newsletters. So, and I recorded one of my albums on the music. So in that time, but I wasn't in any relationship. I wasn't living with anyone. So I was free to take a trip, go places, just to regain perspective. So at that time, I wasn't even trying to get close. My marriage I split up from my third marriage, and I was just navigating in a new place. So it was shocking. Well, it was shocking in the sense I never expected to be alone, and here I was. The third one, the square to the moon, was going to China, being there, meeting people, having really good connections, and having the disruption with the person who organized the trip who had a breakdown. And it was great, and terrible things happened at the same time. So I went, I felt I could live there. I came back, I realized I'm not going back. Things were changing like that. And at the last hit, in March, my granddaughter was born, first girl in the family. So these were big shifts. So instead of thinking I'm going to go to China, I decided, no, I'll end up staying here. I'll be around my granddaughter and stuff. It changed my home and my lifestyle. I don't get another one till 36. I have to be 90 to get the next one. Who knows? They'll probably going to take me away by then. But that was mine. So you're going to see when you're in this system, it's going to shock your feelings. Shocks to your mom, to your home, to your family, to your security. It can show by an ulcer, stomach worries, insecurity. Someone might want to have a kid and realize I can't have the kid, or they might miscarry, or there's disruption, there's an instability. If you're trying to buy property on a Uranus square opposed, or a conjunction to the moon you might get, but it's still a big shock. It's a big change. It's going to take work to stabilize. But so the conjunction can be a breakthrough of a new life. It's still not comfortable. It's still hyper. It's still not sleeping, but it's changing your relationship to home, to family, to the past. Uranus is pushing to the future and to now, to the excitement, and the moon is holding on to the past, and it's creating these shocking, new, exciting memories that are different from what you've recalled before. It's changing your dreams and your reflections. So these are big things. You see that coming up. You know, the home, the family disruption, something from the home or the health is going to be coming up and causing a disruption. It can be a disruption even at the conjunction, but the conjunction, it's more likely you might move, or you might live somewhere new, or start a new hobby, or start something that you may instinctively have to live differently. Either one, you're going to live differently on all of these. And it's going to change. It's a 21-year shift to family, to home, to all of these things. So this 93, when I had the opposition to the moon, going up to Casing was, instead of going to see any family members or anything, that was a breaking away and being free too. And just getting out of the mold to be able to let go better. So yeah, so just like unstable feelings, breaks with the past, domestic upsets, insecurity, broken patterns. Your moon is your habits, so your habits are going to change. They're going to be disrupted. Your lifestyle is going to change. Your residence will. It doesn't know. It can be your residence. It can be your lifestyle. It can be a hobby. It can be a sympathy link with someone. It can be how you remembered something. You have to let go of it. It can be a breakthrough because you're letting go of old memories and judgments. But you're not going to get sympathy that's stable while that's going on. It's too catalytic, too changing. Your kid could move out. Your kid could get in a shocking situation. You could, like, your kids can have a kid or get divorced or want to move back in, and it causes all these shocks. It can happen so many. There's a lot of different ways, but that is happening. You can see this energy. When you're talking to someone, you can walk in and say, "What's going on here?" And you'll get the answers. You don't have to predict. They'll tell you, "Well, you're not really stable these days, are you?" Yeah, how come? And you're right into the problem. You're seeing the problem or a problem. Once you see the problem, you get the scope of the problem. Then you can put it in perspective. How does this link back to the Saturn cycle? I can see where it's being shocked. How do you rebuild after it? Where is it going? Where is it leading to? There you get the greatest insights on how to advise somebody. Okay, I'm going a little faster just to each planet, but they're not. Mercury, Uranus to Mercury is a little bit more of a, it's not as dramatic as to Venus or to Mars, but okay. So Uranus to Mercury, that one, this one, this one, okay. So with Uranus to Mercury, it's your ideas, it's your coordination, it's your making sense out of things. You're making sense, you're anticipating things, you're seeing patterns, you're predicting things, you're seeing where, and Uranus comes in, changes the way you think. That's not always so obvious outwardly, but if someone's with you, they're seeing this restless, hyper person, you're going on the 5 cups of coffee, you're pacing, you're hyper. So at the conjunction, you really could be a great breakthrough. Like if someone's just find astrology and just opens up, or there really is great new insights. It's a mental breakthrough. under that. Still exciting, still unstable. You're seeing something, and it's going to change what you want to work at because you want to work at something more exciting around it. But it's happening in ideas. It takes a long time to get it from ideas down into your body, into life, into making the ideas real. But it is a breakthrough time. You want new ideas and new focuses, anything shocking and exciting when Uranus conjunction Mercury. But the squares and the oppositions, they're unstable ideas, they're disruptions, they're ideas based on worry or insecurity. I got to juggle this could happen, this could happen. And you get caught up in just matrices of anxiety, worry, thoughts, schemes, and none of the schemes are stable. And when you're coming out of the one you're going to, they're not really stable. You're going to, like, and if you're speculating or gambling under the shock, you're not thinking stably. There's going to be more shocks. So there could be some people that, depending on how your Mercury is, there could be lots of moves, but there's certainly, you're not, when your mind isn't stable, you have to rely on discipline and rely on other things. Okay, so this comes in and affects your way of thinking. For me, there was 1958. Penny broke, my first girlfriend, I broke up, but 59, really, we were just about to move. I lived in a small town. It was my first relationship. It ended, and then put Ban the Bomb. But I was 13, and Ban the Bomb was just coming out. And there was the news about riots in England, and there was someone had started this Ban the Bomb movement in Canada. A couple of really derelict radicals living in the slums of Montreal downtown. So I went from this small town. I took a bus on my own down to the sleaziest part of Montreal, see these guys. I became the 4th member in Canada. I really just wanted to get the button, little Ban the Bomb button. I just thought it was so cool, but at 13. So it really was a shock compared to everything else. But it was, in a way, it really was the beginning of me getting into folk music and into socially conscious things and disassociating with the way I was brought up to think. But another little funny thing happened here. My girlfriend and I, we were just dating and seeing each other and stuff, like we were young teenagers. But she'd sent away for the Encyclopedia of Sex so we could explore what this was. She sent away for this encyclopedia. After 3 or 4 months, it finally came. She called, and when it came, we were just all ready to enjoy our next era of joy and experimentation. And my parents moved that week. We moved to the city, and I never was able to experience. It pulled her out of reach, and I never was able to get those experiences. So there was a real shock of thinking. You know, it's just a funny little episode on the side of it. At the conjunction, I had a bookstore. It ended. I was running an organization. It ended, but I moved to a studio. I found a move to a studio, and I had to have legal proceedings. I let go of the store, but I had to have legal proceedings against the person who ripped me off for it. But I really did start a new life because this was during the time when I built the musical instrument and started adding music and creative things into it on top of my astrology when I built the celestial harp. So that was Uranus on my conjuncting my Mercury. But again, there was moves, there was legal things, a lot of sudden changes around things that I had to take care of. When it squared it, I went to Hungary. I started my Astro. I was with Simpatico, and they ended the contract, and I had to switch over to get the Astro. My identity was stolen by Simpatico, and I started I got more concentrated on drumming and music and meditating, and I had to let go of the astrology for a couple of years in that time period. So these were all significant shifts of thinking, but I wouldn't have started to predict on it. I wouldn't predict those so much, except when someone's making decisions during that time, not so stable. So it doesn't stand out as dramatically. That's when you get to Uranus, to the main thing. The conjunction has the potential for a breakthrough. All the others are disruptions and changes. There can be a breakthrough, but there's more of a cost. There's more at the expense of something old and having to let go of an old way. But when you get to Venus and Mars, we'll go to Venus next. Oops. Venus, okay. Here we are with Venus. Oh. Here's Venus, there.